Welcome back to the Secrets of the Self-Made. Today I have Jamie Lima, and Jamie he's a financial advisor, but he's also the founder and president of Woodson Wealth Management and Allegiant Divorce Solutions. So I am super interested in hearing his story of how he created two separate businesses. I know how hard it is to run one business. So to have two businesses, I know that when you are super passionate and you've had experiences and sometimes, pitfalls through life, you become even more passionate about what it is that you're putting out there in the world. And I know that that's part of Jamie's story. So I want him to first introduce himself and then tell us a little bit about that story, that what actually fueled the creation of these two businesses. So thank you so much, Jamie, for being here.
Thanks for having me, Tracy. I appreciate the intro there.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here in Minnesota, although we've had within 1 week, I'm guessing we swung a good, 70, 80 degrees. It's been crazy. We literally had snow on the ground on Monday, and Tuesday was 88 degrees here. It's like, what in the world is going on with our ecosystem? I'm like, this is crazy. So, but Jamie is just outside of San Diego. So I was sitting here just trying to live vicariously through him because I love San Diego. And he actually has kind of the best of all worlds as far as where he's at. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. Tell us a little bit about you, your family, and then what really fueled the creation of these two businesses that you have founded.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I think you have better weather than we do. It's 45 degrees and raining as normal here in San Diego. I don't know what happened this year, but I'm waiting for Noah's Ark to float by. We've had so much rain, anyway, I appreciate the introduction. I'll take you way back in the time machine, and I'll bring you forward to where we are today. I think that'll help answer some of the questions that you had asked. So as we had talked about privately, I grew up on the East Coast. I'm originally from a little tiny town just outside of Providence, Rhode Island, and when I was around 20 years old, I decided I had had enough of shoveling snow and decided I was going to, head west. And because this is, the streets were paved with gold here, of course. And I came out here when I was 20 and worked all kinds of odd jobs. I was a bellman at the Marriott. I worked in restaurants and all kinds of side jobs just to stay here, so I didn't have to go home with my tail between my legs and shovel more snow over the winters. But so I stayed here. I ended up cutting my teeth in the financial services industry at a company called Morgan Stanley. I was there for 5 or 6 years or so. And then I moved to a company called Fidelity Investments, which a lot of people are familiar with as well, which I was there about 9 years or so. And all the while, from a personal perspective, she's not my ex-wife, but we raised 3 kids, and my youngest is 10 years old right now. But we had 3 kids together, and ultimately moved around in Southern California a little bit. I was in the Inland Empire, Orange County, then slowly made my way down to San Diego, which is what landed me here, just outside of San Diego. And going back to the professional stuff, so about 3 years ago or so, maybe 4 years ago, I had decided, I had enough of the rat race of working with 450 clients that I was responsible for at Fidelity, and never really feeling like I could do true financial planning with them and give them the experience that they deserve. So I started to look outside of Fidelity, and actually interviewed with a couple companies, and then I was actually recruited away from Fidelity to go to a small independent advisory firm in San Diego. I won't say their name. And with the promises of doing all the things that I really enjoyed about my job at Fidelity, where I could help coach and train other financial advisors. I could work in a financial planning capacity. I could do some business development stuff because I really enjoy doing things like this, like webinars and seminars and client events. That really gets me fired up. And the job that I was going to do with this new company was a culmination of all 3 of those things. And I was like, wow, this is a perfect opportunity for me. So I cut bait and I left and went to this new company. And within 6 weeks, Tracy, the gentleman that had recruited me away decided he was going to cut my salary by 60%, and decided that, at that time, what, we're not going to do these other things that we hired you to do. Just stay focused on, trying to woo your clients away from the other company. And who cares what, your attorney said and what the rules say, you just do that for me, please. And I realized at that point that I had made a big mistake, and I know we're just getting to know each other, but I'm a pretty ethical guy and I like to live my life above board. And I decided that, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to pave my own path, and I'm never, ever again going to let somebody control my own destiny, which is what prompted me to launch Woodson Wealth Management. So I still get emotional when I start thinking about this and going through that experience, because it was awful, especially in the throes of a pandemic, trying to build a business and build a client base. But that's ultimately what drove me to where I am today, and what prompted me to launch the company. When I was going back again in the time machine, when I was little, my parents, but also at the same time, my parents were divorced when I was 7 or 8 years old, and money was tight. And it was one of those things that growing up, I had to start working at the age of 13 so I could buy my school clothes. And if I wanted baseball cards or comic books or whatever it was, I had to pay for it myself. So I had my first job at 13, and nothing against my parents. They just didn't have the money and the means to do it. And I promised myself early on that I was going to ensure that whatever I did, whatever pathway I took, I was never going to let my own kids ever feel that financial stress. But at the same time, it's what really drove me to focus on finance and money and things of that nature at an early age. And, blessing in disguise in many ways, which prompted me to be where I am today, sitting in front of you, having this conversation.
Yeah. So what would you say was like the root cause, the belief that you had that made you feel responsible almost to go out and start your new business? Like you said, never again will I let this happen.
Yeah.
I'm more above board than this. Like, can you pinpoint what that belief is that is really fueling like that motivation, that sense of control that you had that, fueled the start of these businesses?
I wish I could have coined the phrase, but I really think it goes back to do no harm. Do no harm. And as a certified financial planner, we do have a fiduciary obligation to our clients that we work with. And can you imagine if you were one of my clients and I said, oh, hey, Tracy, all the stuff is happening in the background. It was a situation of a bait and switch situation, and all these things are happening to me behind the scenes. I don't even know if I'm going to be here in another 6 weeks. Why don't you just take all of your money, all of your hard-earned life savings, and just bring it over here anyway? And then at the same time reward this company financially, because they're gonna charge you money to work with them. It just doesn't sit right with me. Yeah. And never mind the legal issues that are surround that whole situation. Yeah. It's from personal ethics situation. I just couldn't do it. And I said, you know what, I'm not even going to worry about my old clients. If they decide to seek me out and they want to come work with me later on, that's fine. I'm going to start from zero and I'm going to rebuild. And it basically came from the root cause of all of it is do no harm.
Awesome. So, okay. So now you've started this business. What, have you faced any challenges?
Well, when you start a brand new business and you're looking for clients that you used to meet face to face, kneecap to kneecap, and be able to and have client events and do things like the seminars and webinars, things of that nature from a business development perspective, and all of a sudden the entire world is shut down. Mm-hmm. That was the biggest challenge. But at the same time, it also created an amazing opportunity to meet people from all over the country. Yeah. In the old days, I was you're handcuffed by geography. Right? I had to work with somebody in Orange County or San Diego, maybe a little bit further out, just depending on if they wanted to ever come to the office or not. But now we have clients all over the country. I have we started adding some advisors to the team late last year. We now have 4 other advisors that work with me, and they're in Austin, Texas, Chattanooga, Tennessee, New York, Los Angeles. I'm here in San Diego. And my relationship manager, who I work with, who's absolutely amazing, and she's in Georgia. None of us have even met each other face to face.
Wow.
And now we've created this company that's growing and scaling, and we've created this camaraderie amongst ourselves, all via Zoom, which is it's a blessing in disguise for sure.
Yeah. So it started right before the pandemic, like.
The company was actually formed April 15th of 2020.
Oh, okay.
And I started taking on clients. I tell people because there's a whole registration process that you have to go through, which is about 2 or 3 months long. So January 1st is the date I in my mind where I say that's officially when we launched and started taking on clients of 2020.
Wow. So we have so much in common. Self-Made You was founded January 1st of 2020 as
Our
well.
timing is impeccable. This is awesome.
Yeah. So it was very pandemic friendly. It's I had the captive audience and people who had, extra time and really wanted to work on themselves, and very unknown circumstance. Nobody had ever been through a pandemic before. So how do you think about that? So yeah, it was the perfect time for us to really deliver this value, this content. So okay, so do you mind sharing, like, what is your short and long-term goal for Woodson Wealth Management?
Yeah, great question. So when I started this business, it was just going to be myself and my tiny little company, and I was just going to do my own thing. And in our business, we call it a lifestyle practice, where you work 3 days a week and go surf the other 2 or whatever. And over the course of the last year or so, about a year in, I decided that I needed some help just from an administrative perspective, because I'm terrible at paperwork and needed help in that area. And so I hired my relationship manager, Sierra. And then about a year or so ago, I started having some advisors come knock on the door saying, what would it take to, join the team? And I never really thought about it. And now here we are with 4 advisors. One of my colleagues and an advisor on the team, his name is Al, and he and I worked together at Morgan Stanley back in 2006. So we've known each other a very long time. He's become a close friend of mine. And one of his areas of expertise is in recruiting advisors. And that was his job for almost 20 years. And he works for some big name firms, and that was his job, to do recruiting and some HR work. So he's now on our team as an advisor, but in a secondary role, he's helping bring more advisors to the team. So we just added another one, a gal named Amy, who's in Houston, just a couple of weeks ago. Our goal is to add 6 advisors this year. We have 3 that are almost ready to sign at this stage of the game, so we're well ahead of that goal. And then we'll see where we go from there. I would say over the next 3 years, maybe we have a team of 10 advisors and some support staff. I feel like once we get over 15 people on the team, we start taking things to another level. And I don't know personally if I'm ready for that just yet. We'll have to see where we go there, but that's ultimately where it is. And at the same time, in parallel to that, I've launched Allegiant Divorce Solutions to help with divorce financial planning, because I don't want to do that under the Woodson umbrella. It gets way too complicated from a compliance perspective. But there are many people out there that are like me, who have gone through divorce, which was incredibly difficult and challenging from an emotional and financial perspective. And now that I'm a certified divorce financial analyst and received that designation, that's an area of passion of mine. Like I mentioned, my parents were divorced, I was divorced, and I work with a ton of people that have either gone through it or going through it. And I think there's a lot of work to be done there to help people in that space too. So over the next couple of years, I want to grow that business. And then 5 years from now, if you're asking what the 5-year goal is, my wife and I want to RV the country for a couple of years. Since we can do this work virtually, there should be no limits on being able to do that, as long as I have good Wi-Fi. And then we'll see where we're going to settle down for the remainder of our lives. But we're probably going to leave California and RV for a couple of years. So that's my personal goal.
Very cool. I love it. So, okay. So with the 2 businesses, I know that you and I have a lot in common in regards to kind of how we deliver our content. You are education first, advisor second. I believe strongly that, any sort of change, any sort of transformation, any sort of goal, it's really, it's 20% insight, 80% application. So you need the educator role in your life. You need the advisor or the coach role in your life. I also believe in teaching with frameworks, and I know you have a framework that you've created, Emerging Millionaire Method. Now, is this actual program that people can go through? Is it just a framework that you're teaching and helping them better understand in their day-to-day life? Like, what does it look like to be a client of yours? What are the steps?
Yeah, great question. The Emerging Millionaire Method is a combination of a couple of those things that you mentioned. And we had talked about this offline, but the Certified Financial Planner designation, when you get the CFP designation, there's a rigorous process to do that, education-wise and exam-wise. But the thing they drill in your head is that there's either 6 or 7 steps in the financial planning process, depending on when you took the exam. When I took it, I think there were 6 steps. Now they'll tell you there's 7, but I used to coach and train financial advisors in my past life. And what I found was the advisor, when I would sit in on joint meetings with clients and advisors, the client would think they were in one phase of the relationship or one step in the process. And the advisor thought they were somewhere else. And there was always this, mix match, so to speak. And sometimes expectations weren't met. So when I would coach advisors, I would say, listen, just stop thinking about all 7 of these steps and who's going to do what and everything else. It's really just 3. You're in the profiling phase of the relationship, you're in the planning phase of the relationship, or you're in the presenting phase where you're going to present solutions to the client to help them be able to achieve their goals and objectives, right? And within the profiling phase, that's where we're just getting to learn more about who you are as a person and some of the goals and objectives that you have. And then we start to build out your financial plan. And then my job is to, as a financial advisor, and if I was coaching somebody, I say, as your job as the advisor is to help your client understand what next steps there are to take in the presenting phase. So we take those steps, so to speak, and then we've created what we call the Emerging Millionaire Method out of that. And then along the same lines, we have a 4-day or 4-hour workshop that we present in a webinar setting like this. So it's basically 4 hours, and we have all 4. There's 4 classes, and they all teach us something different about some of the most important stuff that you should know about finance and wealth building. Mm-hmm. And it's all the stuff they didn't teach you in school. Mm-hmm. Right. So and I'll circle back to the 3 steps here in a second. But in the first workshop that we do, very first thing we do is learn about what the financial planning process is, and then setting goals. Because if you're going to go down this path of hiring a financial advisor or working on yourself as a person, especially like in your line of work, they have to know what they're going to do, why they're doing this. What is their true north, so to speak.
Yeah.
And how we do that is we follow the SMART goal setting framework, which is you want to set specific, measurable, aligned, realistic, and time-bound goals. Yeah. And in that first workshop, we spend a lot of time with them just getting as granular as we can about the goals and objectives that they have. It's not enough, from my perspective, it's not enough to just say, I want to buy a house in Florida in the next 20 years. I want to know what color it is. Is it on 2 acres or 1 acre? Is it beachfront? Are you gonna be, do you want to have a boat? How many bathrooms, all those things. And then we want to know, is it June of 2020 that you want to do that? What is the target date? And then we can set measurable, aligned, realistic, and time-bound goals against that vision that they have. Yeah. And then the remaining parts of the course is we talk about retirement plans and understanding how to navigate your workplace benefits, things of that nature. Class number 3, we talk about planning for the unexpected. So A lot of people we work with don't have things like wills and trusts and so on that are in place, and they're very, very important, though morbid things to think about, very, very important things to have completed.
Yep.
In class number 4, we take it and meld it all together and create, going back to the presenting solutions, profiling, planning, and presenting solutions to them. We can give them a roadmap of things that they need to do to help them achieve the goals that they have. So that's kind of how we all meld that together.
And what have you seen come from this? Like, how has this impacted some of your clients' lives?
I mean, I can think of a few specific ones. One being a gentleman that came to us that I've been working with him for probably 6 or 7 months now. The only thing we've been working on is his budget. And we're not talking about workplace benefits or stock options or any of that other stuff. It's literally financial planning 101, working on his budget. And we've been going through the exercise of categorizing his expenses and helping him understand more about managing his cash flow, what's coming in, what's going out. And his goal was to save $2,000 a month. And when we started off, he was negative, I think he was negative $750 a month, where he was having to pull money from savings, or he was delaying payments and what have you. And he just crossed over the $2,000 a month mark.
Excellent.
In the last few weeks. I just met with him today's Friday. We're recording this on a Friday. Met with him yesterday at 11 a.m. And we wrapped up the budget yesterday because he achieved that goal. And there's 1,000 other stories like that, home purchases. And I have a husband and wife that I've been meeting with for the last 6 or 7 months, and we've been talking about helping them plan for raising a family. And sure enough, they're 4 months pregnant.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's awesome. And these are the things that drive me to do what I do. And this is exactly it. It's those little moments.
Yeah. I can appreciate that. Awesome. So how can my clients find you?
You can find us through the website, woodsonwm.com. That's all of our contact information is there. WOODSONWM.com. And in a few weeks here, we'll have the Allegiant Divorce Solutions website up and running. But for now, I think the best method is just to contact me through the website. All my contact information is there, email. My cell phone is on the website, and a lot of advisory firms don't do this, but everybody that we work with has access to our cell phone, because we do work with a very small group of people. We don't work with 450 clients like we used to in the past. So we work with a very small crowd, and I think that's the easiest method. So call, text, shoot me an email. I'm happy to have a conversation. Even if someone chooses to reach out and ask questions, and we might be a fit for them, or vice versa. We have a gigantic network of other advisors that we work with and we talk to all the time. So if it's not us, we'll certainly help them find somebody.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for sharing your story with our audience, our listeners. I love to spotlight people who are driven by passion and really have this purpose, this, focus in mind where it is that they're going, and they're staying very intentional about it. So you are obviously a great example of what it means to be self-made. So I appreciate your time, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks so much, Tracy.